Welcome back to Shan the channel. I'm Shan, and today I'm going to be doing a tier list. So this is an MCU tier list. I have included all of the MCU films from Phase 1 all the way through to Phase 5, ending with the Marvels, as Deadpool and Wolverine have not come out as of recording this video. I've also included the Disney Marvel shows and Marvel Netflix verse, and I've also included Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they were once part of the MCU and the MCU just forgot about them. So we have a giant tier list here to get through, lots and lots of discussion. This is just my opinion, and your opinion might be very different from mine, so let me know in the comments if you think that I've ranked things wrong in a very calm and nice manner, because we all have opinions and that's fine. Alright, so we're going to start with Iron Man, the very first movie that kicked off the MCU. I think as a starter, this is probably, I'm going to go, just trying to think of like him showing up, like him like blowing up that town or whatever it was, and then like walking away. That was pretty iconic. However, even though it's like the first film in the franchise, I don't think it's as good as it gets or as bad as it gets. So I'm actually going to list this one as mid. Okay. The Incredible Hulk, with, what was his, not Mark Ruffalo. I think this one was pretty decent. I really like the amount of the Hulk that we get to see in this one. I think that the big bad is kind of mid though. I'd probably rank it as mid okay as well. Even though we end up with Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, I think it would have been interesting to see Edward Norton, that's the name, continue on as the Hulk to see where that iteration would have gone. Next up we have Iron Man 2. So this one I feel is I feel the same about this one as I do the first one. Like, I don't think that the Iron Man movies as a whole are bad. I think they're pretty decent films. I just think that there's better. Like, there's definitely a lot better in the franchise. And I might change my opinion about this as we go along, but I think the second one is mid still, kind of. I don't know, like it's got some interesting thing. It's got to do with the whips, and you know, Black Widow is introduced here, which is great. I remember when I first watched it, I was like, I really didn't like her, because they were like making flirtatious moments between Tony and her, and I didn't like that because apparently I liked Pepper and Tony together. I don't know. I might change my opinion on those. We'll see as we go on. Thor. The first Thor movie. I thought that this was a lot of fun when I first watched it. It's got like a really epic score. I feel like, especially the, like, I think it's when he tries to pick up the hammer for the first time in the rain. I just fell in love with the music. And for that, I don't know, this is actually quite hard, because I don't think the story as a whole is very good or perfect. I think this is probably still mid. And I'm just saying, like, mid isn't bad. It's definitely a movie I'd watch again. I just don't know. I think that his eyebrows looked a little funny, because they were like dyed or something. I like the later on Thor look a little bit better. Not the one with cut hair, because that's silly. Let's not do that. Captain America, the first film. If you know anything about me, you probably know that I'm actually not a fan of period pieces. So this one being set in the 40s was not for me. I've seen like this movie a couple of times and I still don't particularly like it all that much. It's I think that it falters in the fact that it's trying to set up a character that we need, and it just felt like it was going through the motions throughout the whole film. Like, they had to get through the 40s to be able to get to like some interesting Captain America stuff later. So yeah, just for that, I'm gonna have to say this is probably not good. It's not garbage, but it's not for me. And that might be controversial for people, but I don't know. The first Avengers film, I remember the build up to this film, and I had such high expectations of it. And then when I saw it, I was really disappointed. I was so disappointed. And I don't know why, because I watched it a year later and I thought it was absolutely great. I don't know why I think I just had too high of expectations at the time. But yeah, I definitely, this was a good film. I was sad that Coulson got killed. I think that I wasn't a huge fan of like the mind control, but there's some really iconic moments in this film and that we've seen time and time again. So I gotta say, this is probably one of the perfect films for me. Honestly, I genuinely think that this is like something that you could watch at least once a year. Iron Man 3. So this is the one where he has like PTSD about going through the wormhole in the Avengers film. And then it turns into like a Christmas movie where he's like looking out for some kid. And then this is also the one where they like screwed up the Mandarin, which I can't remember how I felt about it the first time watching, but I remember watching like some of the animated Iron Man cartoons and learning about the Mandarin and being quite disappointed about the adaptation that they did in the MCU. So I'm probably gonna say this is probably not good. Oh no, wrong one. Yeah, I think not good probably fits for that one. There are some really cool moments, like him jumping from all the different Iron Man armor, but I feel like this is the one that ends with like him fixing his heart situation, and then like it's never brought up again, and like the next time we see him, he's just still Iron Man, and I don't know. That always bothered me a little bit, I think. Thor: The Dark World. Everyone always talks about this one being really forgettable, and I don't entirely disagree, but I feel like there's a lot here that people tend to forget. I mean, in this one, this is the first time we get to see Loki have some feelings, which I wasn't a huge fan of Loki to begin with, but I actually kind of enjoyed the character development in this one for him, especially when, he finds out that his mum has been killed. I mean, the Dark Elves were whatever, and I recently found out that Christopher Eccleston was one of them, or the main guy, and I was quite mind blown by that. This was just very much like, I can't help but think and be reminded of the fact that this is like very Jane and Thor heavy, like with their romance, I feel. That's what I remember the most from it. I don't know why. And I was never really a big fan of that pairing. So I'm going to have to say this is probably not good as well. Captain America and the Winter Soldier. What can I say about this one? After the first Captain America, I was really scared going into this one. But I actually really liked the like spy aspect of it, and like the Hydra like taking over. They had Black Widow in this one as well, and I don't know, man. This was just so good. I really enjoyed this one. So I'm not gonna say that it's perfect, but I think it's very good. I think it's definitely very good. There's the iconic like elevator scene that gets like a callback later on in the franchise. I feel like they've tried to recreate versions of this that have just kind of not worked, which we'll get to. And I don't know, I feel like it was lightning in a bottle. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. James Gunn is just really good at making movies, so I'm actually looking forward to like when he comes out with Superman, because after what he's done with Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad, I'm just really impressed. So the Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember being in the cinema and like watching this whole film and just being like, this is fun. Like, this is just like, I feel like it was the first movie in a, like, I guess not in a while, but I feel like it was a movie that I genuinely just enjoyed. Like, it was just fun, and I really liked that. Rocket was a lot of fun. I don't know, it's just a good movie, so I'm gonna say very good for this one. Avengers Age of Ultron. This one was a lot of fun. The movie starts with like all of them kind of being assembled still, like it's like they're going on missions together, which I really liked. I just assumed that they would go their separate ways, and then all of a sudden like an Avengers film will come up and they will band together again, but it seemed like they were working together on a regular basis, which I really liked. This one definitely has a lot of padding to it. There's a lot in this. Like, it's setting up so many different things. It was very much a setup film, and I feel like Ultron as a bad guy kind of fell by the wayside. I mean, the movie is called Age of Ultron, and he's only a problem for like 2 or 3 days. And then we get Vision, which was introduced into this one, which was great, and the Scarlet Witch, which I actually didn't really like her very much in this film. Pietro gets killed in this one. He's introduced and then killed. I feel like as films go, I feel like this movie was a bit too bloated to be very good. I think it's a popcorn movie that you can kind of just enjoy, but I don't think it's very good, so I'm gonna have to put this one at mid. The first Ant-Man film. I really like Scott's relationship with his daughter and even like his ex-wife. I felt like they had like quite a cordial relationship, and it was great. I think the biggest offender for me is Evangeline Lilly's hair in this one. Not a fan. But I mean, I remember watching this movie and it feeling really short. I feel like this is one of the shortest MCU films to date. I don't know if it's been overtaken, but I remember watching it and then all of a sudden the credits started rolling and I was like, that's it? I think this was around the time that everything was starting to feel a little samey and a little bit repetitive. I mean, Paul Rudd is great, but I think this is probably another case of it's just mid. I feel like it could have been longer. Captain America Civil War, which almost feels like another Avengers film, but it is very much Captain America focused. This was actually one of my favorite MCU films for a long time, and I'd probably put it on my top 10 at least. I was always on the side of Tony, but now thinking back to it, like having rules and like regulating when you can or can't save the day kind of sucks. So I feel like I'd be more on Captain America's side. I think it's just that I prefer Iron Man over Captain America, and I wasn't a huge fan of Captain America, especially at this point. But I really liked, the inclusion of, like, all of the Avengers. Like, it's not like they're just written out because they can't get the actors or anything. I really liked that a lot of them were included here. And it was the introduction to Spider-Man, which was great. It was very exciting to see. I think that this is probably one of the perfect films. I genuinely really enjoy it still to this day. Doctor Strange. This one also felt like it was very much. I feel like the origin stories feel very samey and stale. There was some very interesting visuals in this one, and that's about all that I really remember from it. So I think that this is probably a mid for me. I don't think it's by all means bad. I just think that there are better MCU movies. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. This is the one where they meet Star-Lord's dad and his companion, which is Mantis. I fell in love with Mantis after this film. She became one of my favorite Guardians. I especially love Drax and Mantis's, conversations that they have during this film. This is also where Baby Groot is introduced, and he's just adorable. You can't, hate Baby Groot. So I'm probably going to list this as very good. Spider-Man Homecoming. I think that this one was not bad. I think that it was fun to see Iron Man in a Spider-Man film. A lot of people seem to have issue with Spider-Man kind of being like a version of Iron Man, using like Iron Man tech and stuff. I don't really care that much. I feel like we're in a universe where all of this technology exists, and I feel like you would use the technology that you have available. I think the plane scene was really cool. And then obviously there's the big twist with who the Vulture is. I thought that was pretty cool. I think I verbally gasped when I saw that. But I think that this is, again, just a mid movie. I think that there's some better stuff. Thor Ragnarok. When I saw this film, I was cackling. I was laughing so hard. This was actually one of my favorite MCU films for a long time. However, I do have some issues with it. I feel like Hela isn't that well developed, and I just love Korg. He was hilarious. What can I say? I still love that. But I feel like my opinion on this film has changed a little bit after seeing Thor 4. I feel like a lot of the MCU, especially after Ragnarok, became too jokey. So I feel like its lasting effect on the franchise kind of hurt it a little bit. I'm still gonna list this as very good though, because there's some really, really funny moments. Black Panther. I think that this was a pretty revolutionary film. Everyone was talking about like how good it was at the time and how it should be nominated for an Oscar. I personally just kind of felt like it was more of the same origin story type thing. I don't like that he, like, for half the film, like, loses his, like, Black Panther abilities. It kind of negates, the whole point that you're watching the film. Then there's, like, the god-awful CGI scene, which doesn't look very good. But I think it was a pretty decent film. Everyone talks about how good the villain is, and I think it was fine. I think the movie overall is just kind of mid. It just feels kind of the same. Avengers Infinity War. So, this is the film that had to juggle, like, all of the Avengers. And I think that this did such a good job. I still to this day feel like this is one of the best MCU films to date. I remember being in the theater, and when Thanos makes the snap and everyone starts to disappear, the whole theater was gasping, and I was in shock. And then like the credits rolled. And like this is the first time that like a movie in this franchise has just ended on a cliffhanger like this, and like one where they lose. Usually, like, is a happy ending and they win. But this is the first time that they actually lost, and it felt so good. This movie, I've heard people say that it's more about Thanos. It's like Thanos's movie, and I feel like that is somewhat true, and it definitely enhances the film a lot more. It makes him a much more compelling villain. I don't like that Hulk has issues with transforming. I get why he does, because, he kind of lost a fight at the beginning of the film, but it's just really frustrating. Yeah, this was just a really good film. What can I say? It was lots of fun. Definitely a perfect film. Ant-Man and the Wasp. This movie came out in the middle of, like, Infinity War and Endgame, and it was incredibly frustrating because you were waiting to see what happened. And I think that's really frustrating still to this day. I think I've seen this film twice, when it first came out and when I did like a full MCU watch through again. I like that Evangeline Lilly actually gets to be the Wasp in this one, and that's about all. I think that this is just kind of not good. It's not great. It's eh. Captain Marvel. When I saw this film, I left the theater thinking it was good. I've since revised my opinion, and I feel like they may have overdone her a little bit, made her a little bit too powerful in this film, and they made her a little bit unlikable. They do make some changes to her later on that I enjoy, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm just still very upset about what they did with the Skrull in this film. They made them kind of refugees, which I feel like that's an important story to tell, just not with the Skrulls. The Skrulls have some very interesting stories in the comics and the cartoons, but I don't like what they did with them here. They made them the good guys, and that's a little frustrating still to this day for me. This film also shows how Nick Fury lost his eye, and early on in the franchise, he talked about the last time he trusted someone, he lost an eye, and then we find out it was just a cat. It was another one of those moments where the comedy just kind of ruined circumstance, and I really didn't like it. So I think for me, and this is kind of unfortunate because this is the first female-led MCU film, I feel like this is probably not good. It's not garbage. Avengers Endgame. Already can tell you this is a perfect film. This is so good. I really love, like, I feel like the time travel, when we found out it was going to happen, I felt like it was a bit of a cop-out. But the time travel was a lot of fun. I really liked the stuff that they went through during the time travel. I really wasn't expecting Black Widow to die, and I have one nitpick about it, and that is that it is the same music score as when Gamora died, and I feel like that was kind of cheap. It didn't feel very emotional for me because I couldn't help but, like, think about Gamora dying in that moment because it was the same music. I feel like they could have done something better with that. The Avengers Assemble moment in this film still gives me shivers. Not shivers. Shivers? I don't know. Butterflies, maybe? I don't know. But, like, I've seen the Avengers Assemble moment more times than I care to admit. And it's just so satisfying, so good. And then, Tony sacrifices himself at the end, and it's just perfect. I mean, there's definitely issues with the film, but in my eyes, it's perfect, and that's why we're here, right? To find out what I think about these. Spider-Man No Way Home. This one was a little bit interesting. I feel like a lot of the film dealt with grief, which I really liked. They introduced perhaps the possibility of, multiverse in this one with Mysterio and, him just kind of... I liked the little flashbacks of Mysterio in all of these moments in previous movies and I thought that was kind of cool. Like, I don't like how at the end of the film he, like, announces to the world who Spider-Man is. I don't like the Night Monkey suit. I think that's what the name was. But otherwise, I think this movie was kind of mid again. I don't know. I love Spider-Man. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. It's great. It's like he's good. I just don't love Far From Home. Black Widow. This movie was garbage. I remember watching this film and being a little frustrated at the fact that it was set during in the middle of Infinity War and Civil War or something. I don't remember exactly. But, like, it was kind of frustrating because we just watched her die. I feel like we should have had, like, a movie for her, like, way earlier on. But I really liked Florence Pugh in this movie. I thought she was quite likable. It was a lot of fun to see her. I hate that all of the widows were just mind controlled. I feel like that kind of ruined any sense of accountability for their actions. They were just like, oh, yeah, they've killed all these people, but it wasn't their choice, and that kind of ruins... I just don't like them being victims. I prefer them redeeming themselves rather than just being like, well, it wasn't my fault. This movie had Black Widow falling off, like, a giant building, and, like, she was fine. However, you saw, like, other other widows, whatever they were called, I don't know, falling off the same kind of building and dying, and it was very frustrating. This film just, like, really beat the shit out of her, but it didn't feel like it meant anything. Shang-Chi! I really liked this one. It's so strange because this is kind of like an origin almost. I really liked Sammy Lee, I think his name is. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but I really liked his martial arts skills. I was very impressed. It felt really good. I don't know. I really liked the real Mandarin. Little disappointed that, like, it kind of ended in, like, a giant dragon fight. I feel like they could have just kept it on a, like, grounded level. A lot of people hate Awkwafina. I don't. I thought she was fine in the film. I feel like she didn't need to learn archery, but it is what it is. But yes, it was a very good film. Next up is The Eternals. I think this movie was garbage. The person I saw this film with fell asleep midway through the film, and I got really frustrated at them. However, by the end of the movie, I understood it completely. Like, I've seen this movie one time, and I have not seen it ever again. This movie has, like, a giant robot god thing fall onto die on our planet, and nobody has referenced it since. There's too many characters, too many powers. There's a Superman looking one, which I don't know if we needed, to be honest. Like, we've seen enough bad Superman. I don't know. There's also a Speedstar, which looks cool, but otherwise none of the characters get given enough time to fully be fleshed out. Plus, I didn't like the fact that they keep going back and forth between different time periods during the film. I feel like that kind of halted its, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Anyways, let's move on. Spider-Man No Way Home. So this had almost the Sinister Six. This also had Tobey Maguire reprise his role as Spider-Man from the Raimi films, and Andrew Garfield from his films. I was never a fan of The Amazing Spider-Man. However, I did like the Raimi Spider-Man films growing up. So I was very excited regardless when they both showed up, and I just loved it. You know, this also had Doctor Strange in it. There were a lot of stupid decisions in this one, but the second that, you know, all of the Spider-Man get together, the movie just becomes so much fun. You know, Green Goblin being in this and killing Aunt May, that was great. It was a really, really quite brutal, the fight that they had after that. Like, that whole fight, I think, and actually, Spider-Man was quite brutal in this one. I liked it. I think this is probably, I'm going to put this at very good, and I might change my mind later. We'll see. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. During the development of this film, we all heard about all of the different cameos that were going to happen. I was very frustrated because I wanted to go into the film and be surprised. I think there was like one or two in there that I actually was surprised about, which, I mean, that was cool, but most of the cameos were spoiled for me, so that was really disappointing. But they were mostly relegated to cameos, and like, the biggest problem that I have with this film is I feel like during the WandaVision TV series, they really developed Wanda as a character, and I really liked her a lot. Considering the fact that I didn't really like her early on in this, like, franchise, I actually fell in love with the character. And in this film, they kind of went a bit too overboard with her character here, and it was very clear to me that the people behind creating the film didn't actually watch WandaVision, and I'm pretty sure it's even stated online somewhere, I don't know, because it doesn't feel like the same character, the same motivations, or anything like that. It just doesn't feel like the same character, and that was kind of disappointing. It was really cool to see some of the stuff that she could do, though. Kind of disappointing that she's just able to, like, mow through, like, Professor X, for example. I don't know if that would have happened that easily, at least, but this was a lot of fun. I think that it was enjoyable enough, and I think I'd probably list this as very good. This is a common occurrence, actually, where they have, like, a TV series where they get a costume, and then in the film preceding that, they just get a new costume. And I was very disappointed about that because I actually preferred the WandaVision costume at the end of the series, and I don't like the changes that they made to it for the film. I think they gave her, like, sleeves or something. I don't know. I wasn't a fan. Still looked good, but I preferred the TV series version. Thor, Love and Thunder. It was cool to see Jane again. Seeing her being, like, a version of Thor was kind of cool. And seeing that they adapted her, like, cancer storyline a little bit was nice. I feel like they could have focused on that a little bit more. This movie was too comedic, absolutely way too much, especially when you have such a story as someone having cancer in your film, and you just, like, make a joke out of everything's kind of disappointing. Christian Bale knocks it out of the park in this film. He is so good. I would have liked to have seen way more of him in the film. Other than that, I feel like this is kind of... Is it not good or is it garbage? I think it's garbage, actually. There are some upsides to it, but no, it's not garbage, because there's some upsides to it. I don't feel like I had very many upsides or anything for Black Widow or for the Eternals. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So this is the film that preceded Chadwick Boseman dying. I was really hesitant about what they were going to do with this. I like most of it. I liked Namor. I think that it was interesting, like an interesting villain to deal with. I didn't care for, I think her name was Ironheart or something. I don't know. I didn't care for that. I feel like that could have been cut out from the story entirely. There's some really, really good performances here. And I don't know. I feel like this is just kind of okay for me. It's very sad that he passed away because I really did like him as T'Challa. And I like the new Black Panther suit. I thought it looked cool. I was like, well, I'm a little bit jealous for T'Challa because he didn't get to have a suit that cool. That's all. Ant-Man Quantumania, or Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. This was garbage. Oh my god. First of all, they recast Cassie Lang from what they cast her in Endgame, I think. I was annoyed about that. I mean, I love Catherine Newton. She was in Supernatural, and I really liked the character there. But I feel like they should have kept the original actress. This film focuses too heavily on Hank Pym's wife. I can't even think of her name right now. And not enough on actual Evangeline Lilly's character, which she is the Wasp at the moment. So, I don't know. This movie was just a mess. Honestly, I can't think of a single thing that I liked about it. I feel like it went too big, which is kind of funny because, you know, he can go big. This is also like the fourth movie, I think, that like talked about the multiverse, but it was like done in a different way every single film, which it was getting really frustrating because they weren't following a certain law. Like, you need to build a law around something and follow it in all of your films. Otherwise, it just kind of like, every time it's like, the multiverse is breaking. But then they fix it at the end of the movie. And then the multiverse looks different in the next movie. And then they fix it in that movie. It was very frustrating and very repetitive and yeah, not for me. Mordock? I don't know. Stupid head face. Why? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is a perfect film. This was a great film. It focused very heavily on Rocket, and there was a lot of emotion behind a lot of it, and there was a really cool fight scene in a hallway. The villain was so villainous you wanted him to get his face scratched off. Some of the comedy didn't land, I feel, but otherwise, I thought it was a great film. The final film that we have here is The Marvels. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I actually kind of liked this film. It got so much hate online, and I don't understand why. They made Carol Danvers, like, so much more likable in this one. Kamala Khan was so good. I think it was a good film. I don't know. I don't know if I would say it's very good, but I don't think it's mid either. I don't know, man. I think the villain was really shit. Very underdeveloped. I think that them swapping powers or places or whatever, I thought that was really cool. I thought it was a very cool concept that hadn't been done yet. And I remember hearing about this film before seeing it and being very worried about watching it and being like, oh no, I'm not going to like it. But I actually kind of liked it, so I'm going to put this at okay. Most people would say that it's garbage. Most of those people haven't seen the film. Alright, we're going to be moving on to the Disney Plus Marvel shows. First up, we have WandaVision. This had everyone sitting by the edge of their seats every single week. It was so much fun to watch and watch everything unfold. But I feel like this is a TV show you can't really watch multiple times, because this is a show where you find out things as you go along, and it's a reveal show, and so knowing everything and then going back and watching it again kind of doesn't give the same feel. I think that this show handling Wanda's grief I liked it. I mean, yeah, she brainwashed the whole town and all that kind of stuff, but I liked how far they went with it. I was disappointed about the Quicksilver situation, as everyone was. You know, there were period piece episodes, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but it was cool to kind of be like, oh, that's, Bewitched. Oh, that's Malcolm in the Middle. That was fun. So I think I would put this at mid now, because I think that watching it week by week, it was very good. But as I said, I feel like I can't watch it again. I've seen it twice because I've had to edit a reaction to it. Watching it a second time wasn't as good as the first time. Loki season 1. Everyone was ranting and raving about when it was going on. I didn't like it that much. I did not really like season 1 of Loki. I mean, I loved Tom Hiddleston in it. I think he did a great job, developing a new version of his character. I didn't like Sylvie. I thought that she kind of sucked. Owen Wilson was great. I have seen this one 3 times, and my opinion has kind of not changed at all. So I'd probably put this at not good. That might be controversial for you guys, but you guys can let me know in the comments what you think and why you think I'm wrong. Loki season 2. I actually enjoyed Loki season 2 a lot more than Loki season 1. Especially the season finale, I think, or the series finale. I think the series finale was awesome. I feel like this season didn't give Sylvie much to do, which I didn't really like in the first season, so I'm okay with that. I think I'd probably put season 2 at mid okay. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm a huge fan of Bucky, and I feel like he got the shorthand of the stick on this series. I feel like the series focused more on the Falcon and him transitioning into being Captain America, which is fantastic and I'm on board for, but I don't like that it's called the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because it doesn't feel like and the Winter Soldier should really be part of it, because I don't know, I was really disappointed in the amount that he got to do, because I was always a big fan of him, especially since the Winter Soldier is just iconic. I mean, this one also introduced the new Captain America, but I mean, he's not anymore. That one cliffhanger that everyone freaked out about when he killed somebody with the shield, I think that was a pretty big deal. I think this is just kind of not very good for me. I don't know. I was disappointed. Next up we have Hawkeye. I really enjoyed this series. I slowly fell in love with Clint Barton over the franchise, over the course of the franchise. And seeing him here, you actually get to see him fight. You don't really see him fight in a lot of these movies. You see him using a bow, and that's great. But here, I feel like you really got to see why he was part of the Avengers, and I really enjoyed that. Having Kate Bishop here was a lot of fun too. And then there was, the reintroduction of Kingpin, which I think was really cool. It was a lot of fun to see him again. I really liked it. So I think I'm gonna go with... here's another situation with this one, is the fact that it is kind of like WandaVision in that you can't really watch it very much. Like, you can only really watch it one time or during the holidays, which I guess it has a little bit more rewatchability because it is like kind of Christmassy. I think it was very good. Moon Knight. There is some awesome acting in this one. However, I don't know. I didn't really gel with it all that much. I feel like the like Egyptian gods and all that kind of stuff aren't really my cup of tea. I prefer like the Greek gods and stuff, so I feel like they just kind of weren't as interesting for me. I really liked that they dissected his brain a little bit. Well, not dissected in a literal sense, but I mean, you know, you got to see how he got this split personality, and I thought that was pretty cool. I think it's mid for me though. What If Season 1? I actually didn't really like a lot of these episodes. I think that some of them were really random, like incredibly random, and didn't make a whole lot of sense. There was one where they had Black Panther as Star-Lord, which I don't know how that possibly could have happened. But I mean, it is what if, but I just felt like it was too random of a choice. And then in that episode, they have him just be like, hey, Thanos, have you thought about not doing the thing that you want to do? And then all of a sudden, he doesn't, which kind of contradicts, like, the 14 million different possibilities that Doctor Strange saw. I don't know. Like, that's just one issue. They have, like, one episode with Doctor Strange, which I think that was probably my favorite one. I feel like they did Tony dirty on, like, all of the episodes that he was in. I think they killed him in, like, majority of them, which was kind of disrespectful in my eyes, considering he's, like, the one that started the whole franchise. So, yeah, I think this is kind of not good for me. I'm not a huge fan. What If Season 2? I actually haven't seen this one yet, so I'm gonna put that at haven't seen. I actually haven't heard a lot about it, which is probably a good thing. Or it could be a bad thing. Miss Marvel. I really liked Kamala Khan in this. I think that she was an absolute bright spot. She's a gem. However, I actually don't like the story that they went with here. They kind of pivoted a couple of times, I feel. They had, like, these people coming after Kamala because of the bangle. And then they died. And then they had the government people coming after her. It just felt really like they didn't need to have the government people coming after her. And then it was revealed that she was a mutant, which it's kind of frustrating because she's not a mutant in the comics. I do like the way that they've changed her powers, but I'm a little disappointed that they didn't keep her original powers. But I think this was mid. I know that it wasn't watched by a lot of people, and a lot of people hated it, but I enjoyed it, at least. Secret Invasion was garbage. I'm very disappointed because they never fully realized what the Skrulls could do. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but there are some interesting stories in the comics about the Skrulls, and I am just so absolutely disappointed in the way that they handled them. And then there's just the disgusting CGI whatever mess that the season finale was. Why did Nick Fury have samples of everyone's powers? There's so many issues with that. And, like, I'm not gonna... Like, I don't have anything new to say about it that other people haven't already talked about. I was disappointed the way that they killed Talos. The lack of security around the president was really, unrealistic. It was a shit show. Like, it had AI credits. Why? Why would you ever think that was a good idea? It looked ugly. We have Echo. This one had Daredevil in, like, one episode, I think, for, like, 5 minutes, and that was cool. But otherwise, I think this was kind of not good. There wasn't a lot to talk about with this one, to be honest. I thought it was very, 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 very mediocre and just not good. I don't know. She-Hulk. This one got a lot of hate, which I can understand a lot of it. I don't think it is as bad as everyone says it is. I feel like a lot of people would put it on garbage. I don't think it's garbage. I think that Tatiana Maslany, or sorry, I've probably butchered it. She is a phenomenal actress. If you've ever seen Orphan Black, you would agree with me. She is so good, and I was very excited to see her in a role like this, although I was a little disappointed. I feel like they didn't use her full potential here, and I do like that they used a lot of fourth wall breaks, and, you know, the season finale was pretty cool, but it wasn't a good show. So I'm going to put this at not good. Next up, we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I did watch this, and I thought it was fun. They kidnapped Kevin Bacon, I think, and I think there was like a musical at the start or at the end, and it was mostly Drax and Mantis, and I do love those two together, so I'm probably going to put this at mid-okay. Yeah. Next is Groot, but there's two Groots here. I don't know why, but I haven't seen either of them. Next up is Werewolf by Night. I did not watch this because it was black and white, and I didn't care for that. Next up, we have the Marvel Netflix shows. Daredevil Season 1, I feel like was... Man, I watched this a while ago now. I thought Daredevil Season 1 was pretty good. I like the rivalry between Kingpin and Daredevil in this. It's good. If I had one thing to say about it that was bad, and that would be that I wish he had the suit all season, because the suit is cool. Season 2 of Daredevil, I would say, is probably... I'm going to list that one as okay. It was great to see the Punisher and Elektra, but this one was very heavy with the hand, and I was not a fan of the hand at all. I could not care less, so that was kind of disappointing. Daredevil Season 3 is very good. I really enjoyed Poindexter and Kingpin in this one. It took me way too long to realize that Poindexter was Bullseye. I don't know, the last season of Daredevil was just really good. Jessica Jones Season 1 was really good. I feel like David Tennant as a villain was phenomenal, and I don't think the show recovered from that. I don't like the way that Jessica and Luke ended things. I don't like the way that they kind of started things either, technically, because in the comics they're traditionally married, I think. So I'm a little disappointed that they kind of ruined that, but it was a good season anyways. Very, very good. Season 2 of Jessica Jones, I feel like, was mid. They completely ruined Trish's character for me. I really didn't like how selfish she was. And then there's Jessica's mum being in the picture. And that, for me, was just very frustrating the whole time, because she went around and killed a whole bunch of people, and then all of a sudden she's like trying to be a mom, and I don't know. It frustrated me a lot. At the time of recording this, I actually haven't seen Jessica Jones Season 3. I will be watching it very soon though, so I can't accurately put this on the tier list. Iron Fist Season 1 was so boring. I could not wait to finish. I was so bored. I think this was one of the hardest ones of the Marvel Netflix verse to get through, so I'm going to say it's garbage. Iron Fist Season 2 was better than Season 1. But not by a lot. But I definitely didn't want to claw my eyes out while watching it, so I'm going to say this is probably not good. Luke Cage Season 1. I feel like the guy I feel like Mahershala Ali was really, really good in the episodes that he was in, and then they killed him off. And then they pivoted towards Luke Cage's brother, which that was incredibly boring. Yeah, for me, that's just season 1 was garbage. It was really hard to get through. Luke Cage season 2 was better than season 1. Mariah as a villain was very frustrating. So was the, I want to say Snake or Viper, I don't remember what his name was. But I think that this one is not good. It's not as bad as season 1. The Punisher season 1, I know a lot of people that swear by this show, and I don't get it. Season 1 focused very heavily on the veteran side of things and like what that can do to a person. And they focused on this character that I didn't care for at all, and it just felt like it went kind of nowhere. Like, it just felt like a side story that didn't really need to be there. It felt like they needed to pad time. I feel like they didn't need to have as many episodes as they did. Micro was cool. I liked him as a character. Most of the season, Frank actually isn't wearing his Punisher suit where he like goes out and like kills people, so that was very disappointing for me. So for me, this is not good. Season 2 of The Punisher, though, is better than season 1 for me. You know, he has, you know, this beef with this, with his friend, his ex-friend, Billy Russo, which I'm very disappointed with the scarring that he had in his face. I feel like they should have made it worse. It didn't look very bad. And then they had, like, a pastor, I think he was. I don't know. But he was, like, kind of the side villain. They had Frank wearing his iconic suit a little bit more. He's doing a lot more badass stuff in this one. Yeah, I think that this is probably mid for me. The Defenders was garbage. This one was really frustrating to get through because I think it wasn't until like the 4th episode out of the 8 that they all actually got together, and that was kind of annoying. Because this is literally called The Defenders. You should get them together within the first 2 episodes max. But yeah, this focused a lot on the hand. This had Sigourney Weaver in it, and even she couldn't save it. I didn't care for the hand. Elektra kind of went off the rails for me. Yeah, I don't know. She's kind of shit. Agent Carter season 1. I don't remember that much. I watched an episode a month, so it's very difficult for me to remember. I think I'd probably put season 1 at mid-okay. Based on the fact that I feel like if it was horrible, I would remember it more. But I don't. I feel like it's very difficult for me to remember what happened. Season 2 was not good. I actually watched this one on a, like, weekly, I think, but it was not good. She moved to LA in this one. She has a relationship with Sousa, which was a plus, I guess. Feels very forgettable as well. I don't know. Next up, we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1 was mid to okay. I feel like the show was okay until I think the 15th or 16th episode where it the big reveal happens, and then the season really gets going and it's really good. But if you have to wait 15 or 16 episodes, I feel like the season as a whole is probably mid okay. I think that episode 7, I think, is probably the episode where you realize you start to care for the characters. Season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was better than season 1. They introduced Bobby and other characters that I can't remember the names of at the moment. I liked the new characters. Season 2 was actually the season that they had the real S.H.I.E.L.D., which, if you know or watched with me, was really frustrating for me because Nick Fury quite literally put Coulson in charge, and then these guys are like, nah, no, we're the real S.H.I.E.L.D. And that just kind of sucked. This kickstarts the Inhuman stuff. I feel like the storyline with Skye at this point and her dad was quite touching. You know, learning about her mum was really cool. But I think that, again, season 2 is probably just mid for me. Although there is one iconic moment when she gets her powers, and that's so cool. Season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the season that they had Lincoln in it. They say goodbye to 2 of the characters. This is where Ward is like the bad guy. They had Lash in this one, I think. I think that half the season was really good and half of it was kind of mid. So I'm going to say this one's probably mid okay. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 is my favorite season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The first third of the season has a story about Ghost Rider. The second third of the story has the LMD arc, which is them being in the framework. Chef's kiss, it was so good. And then the third of the season put those two together and it was so good. I loved season 4. I think season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. perfect. I would watch it again. There's some really cool moments in the framework, like Daisy getting her powers again. That was cool. I loved that. Let's do that again. I might rewatch the season again. I mean, season 4 has literally the best episode of the series, and that's episode 15. It is filled with tension. It is just so good. Season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is very good. I feel like it is very consistent. Like, throughout the whole season, it's really consistent with its pacing and its storytelling, and I really love the reveals throughout the season. And the season finale is probably one of my favorite episodes of the series as well. I'll always remember when the little girl, I can't remember what her name is, said something's changed, or no, she said something's different. Like, that always echoes in my head. I think it just ends on a really high note. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6 was mid for me. I feel like they leaned too heavily into some of the comedy. They turned Jeff Ward's character, which I can't think of his name at the moment, really bad with names at the moment, they turned his character into a bit of a goofball when in Season 5 he was introduced as kind of like a badass, so I was disappointed in that. Fitz and Simmons being apart all season was very frustrating. Yeah, it was just kind of mid for me. It's not bad, but mid. And then finally we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, which was a period piece season, which I feel like was kind of mid okay. I like that they touched on some of the stuff that we've seen in the past, and we got to see different periods of time, I suppose, but it just kind of felt kind of mid. I feel like Season 4 and Season 5 is where the show really peaked, and then it just kind of steadily declined a little bit. But the series finale did make me cry, so. This is my tier list. What do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think that I have put things in the wrong spot, where you would put things. Let me know if you want to see more tier lists. Maybe suggest what tier lists you want to see. And I'll see you in the next video.